On today's DNVR Broncos show, we're breaking down where the Broncos rank in terms of power rankings. How does the nation view the Broncos? Is it as bad as they think? Or are there some people that actually have faith in the Broncos? We're going to break down what their ceiling should be and what their floor could be by looking at power rankings. We're starting right now. Doubleheader today on the DNVR Broncos podcast. We just wrapped up an hour-long show, 15-minute break for me to eat half of my granola bar, and for Henry to tell me...
Wait, who?
Yeah, Henry. I mixed Henry and Hank there.
Yeah, it happens.
And for Henry to tell me how lucky I am to be joined by a celebrity on this show, because today we've got Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you. We got you here behind the camera. Todd somehow disappeared. I don't know where he went between this show and the last one, but that doesn't matter because we missed Todd. But I'm joined by a celebrity with Henry the Hank Chisholm.
Yeah, no, I got signed up. So basically, I was the last celebrity in. I'm a replacement celebrity for a celebrity golf tournament.
How do you know that, Henry? Did they tell you you're a replacement celebrity?
Well, I was curious who else was playing, and I saw that they posted the graphics months ago. I was like, oh, okay. But no, it should be a really good time, and it's for a good it's like raising money for a high school football team up north, which I'm now a fan.
You're pro high school football.
Yeah.
Did you hear Tom Brady's speech about high school football this week? He said everyone should play high school football because it's so miserable and you get to learn what hard work looks like. You get to learn the grind. And I'm like, yes, Tom, high school football is miserable. I don't know if I agree with that second part about everyone should do it to learn the misery and stuff, but that was Tom's, those are Tom's words.
High school golf was fun. I was talking to Zach Allen about this.
Me? Yeah.
I was talking to Zach Allen at the home run derby, and he was like, I wanted to play baseball. I was going to stop playing football when I was in high school so I could go play baseball. And all the coaches were like, what the hell are you thinking? Like, that's a terrible idea. Obviously, you should be playing football, not baseball. So I stuck with football. And I was like, well, I kind of had the opposite situation where it was pretty clear that I would fit better on the golf team than the football team in high school. And so I wound up being a golfer. So we kind of bonded over that.
Well, it's funny how you were given that information and chose to go the golf route. I was given that exact same information. I was like, I want to go out for the football team. And a very close family friend who happened to be a tennis player as well was like, no, you should go out for the tennis team. Your body's a lot more built for that. And tennis is a sport that you can play the rest of your life. It's a lot easier to play after high school than football is. And I was like, no, I'm a big macho football player. Probably should have gone the tennis route. But hey, it got me here. So Henry, we each went our own ways, and we both got here.
Also, Tom Brady, there's so many reasons I hate this guy.
Yeah,
like,
good.
So many reasons. He actually, what was this? This was 2020. He was out on like a golf course or something wearing a Whitefish high school football shirt and saying like, hey, good luck, guys. Like, really excited. That's like my rival high school, Montana. So it's like the next town over. And it's like the bougie, like, that's where Tom Brady goes. That's not where he lives, but like, he goes up there. Like, Drew Bledsoe has a house on that lake. Like, that's where like, when Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber were staying up there, that's where they were staying. It's
So we hate them.
We hate so many people for all those reasons. But yeah, so we hate Whitefish in particular. We hate Tom Brady in particular. And then that collab together.
Bad
it was
collab.
Like, so.
Tom Brady times Whitefish equals Henry hate.
So much.
You're drinking the haterade
so
for that.
Hatred.
That's for sure. You'll accept that one too.
Yep.
Well, Henry, do you want a reason to feel better about yourself?
Sure. Who
you know who wasn't invited to the celebrity tournament this weekend?
Was it you?
Tom Brady.
That's true.
I wasn't trying to put myself down. I was trying to put Tom
there
down.
There you go. I wonder if Todd was invited.
But you were.
Because we know
invited.
Todd is busy next weekend. But
yeah, that's
so
true.
there's a real chance that he got the invite before me.
Henry, stop putting yourself down, man.
No, I mean, I'm not putting myself
You're
down.
a celebrity this weekend.
Yeah, but we talked about before. I went and I golfed on Sunday for the first time this year, and it didn't go great. So
Keep putting yourself down, man.
No. But like this week, I'm gonna try to find a time because I'm doing the Rockies watch along tonight. We have this meeting that, hey, it's at 1, so it could be done by 2.
Yep.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Don't plan on that.
There could be a chance for me to like go. I'm going to try to get my golf game in shape as much as I can between now and Friday, because like Lendell White and Clinton Portis and like Alex Singleton, there's like a bunch of those guys who are playing. Justin Gaethje's playing, and so like these people bought teams, and they're like, oh, I didn't get Neil Smith, I got.
You're putting yourself down, man. They're
That's
gonna
what,
be able to talk football
I just need to be able to like golf my way through it. Like if I play well enough to be like, yeah, okay, this is worth it. But if I'm not a good golfer and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna blame anybody for wanting to golf with Singleton, even though he's gonna wear that dumbass Bobcats.
Wow,
hat.
yeah, that's true. We might not see you after this weekend if you talk too much shit to Alex.
No, I think we might need a little bet on this one though.
What?
We might need a bet, me and Alex, beforehand.
Well, are you 2-0, 3-0 against them?
Well, I'm doing pretty well in the bets. Shout out to the Montana Grizzlies. But yeah, especially before we know our teams, that might be a thing that needs to happen.
I like that. I like that a lot. Well, we're going to be pulling for you out there, Celebrity Hank. And again, just lucky to be rocking and rolling with you today on this show. We've got a fun show planned. Power rankings, Henry.
Yes.
Tell me how you feel about them.
Wow. How do I feel about
I just thought
them?
you were immediately going to say
think
I hate them, so I'm impressed.
There's a lot of them that are like, there's a lot of the whole like ESPN, like NBA. What did last night do for Jason Tatum's legacy? Like, I don't care. Like, it really doesn't matter to me at all.
What if it was the Nuggets that won and they were talking about?
It's like Nikola Jokic, is he now a top 7 player of all time? It's like, I just want to go win. Like, I don't need to know where he ranks among your top players. So there's a lot of that stuff. And I think basketball does it worse. And so because of that, I don't get too upset with the football rankings because they aren't so like hot takey and weird. Like, people put a lot of thought into it because it is hard to say, like, how do you compare I don't even know, like the Indianapolis Colts to the Arizona Cardinals? Like, what is the gap? It takes more thought because there's a lot more that goes into it. And so, like,
It's some pretty sicko stuff. Like, you got to dive deep into this. And I mean sicko in a good way. Like,
definitely.
if you want to be deep diving on stuff. Ranking all 32 teams is not easy, like you're saying. So I respect your respect for it.
No, there's a way to do it badly. But if you put the thought in, like, it is interesting, especially this time of year. Like, when you get into the, like, mid-December, like, who's in the top 10? Like, I remember in high school when the Broncos had Peyton, like, you'd always be like, oh, this week, are the Broncos at number 1? Or they at number 2? And it's like, I don't.
What, Tuesday mornings they come out and you're always checking?
Exactly. And in hindsight, it's like, that didn't really matter. Because once you get to that, like, but you kind of, what the teams are. Like, you get in the playoffs, anybody can make a run. It's not really so much about, like, who is the better team versus how do these two teams who actually play each other match up against each other. So it's this time of year, why not? It's a way to talk about things that typically don't get talked about. So, like the 30th best team. So
I went around and looked at 5 or 6 different power rankings that are out here, and Jose found one that I did not see, and he said CBS's power rankings 1 week ago had the Broncos being led by the secondary with Pat Surtain and Justin Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's good thing I didn't actually look at CBS's power rankings for that then. But Henry, so I accumulated 5 or 6 different power rankings, and I did not try to cherry pick good ones for the Broncos, bad ones for the Broncos. Just tried to look up kind of the most popular ones floating around there from mostly names that everyone has heard of, like ESPN, NFL.com, all the big ones, to just try to get a gauge of what not only people have the Broncos at, who they're above, who they're behind, and then what they're saying about the Broncos, just to see, because we know that Vegas has them at 5.5 wins. It's the second lowest win total. The Panthers and the Patriots are the only teams with a lower win total than the Broncos. So kind of wanted to see if it was just Vegas that knows that, or if it's other places kind of viewing the Broncos as the 3rd worst team in the NFL. And so if I told you that between these 5 and 6 power rankings, Henry, that the lowest one had the Broncos as the worst team in the NFL, what would you say?
Adds up.
Adds up? Okay, now what if I told you that the highest one had the Broncos as the number 1 team in the NFL?
I would say that person's smoking crack. I mean, that's what I would say.
Went further, I was gonna say like you called me a liar because I just lied to you.
I guess that'd be the other answer.
No one had the Broncos.
Or like you misread it. Or it was like worst teams.
It's either I lied or someone's smoking crack.
I think crack is more possible, honestly.
Wow, you think I'm a really honest guy? I appreciate that. No, I just lied on that one. I want to see your reaction, and it was a worth it reaction there.
Yeah.
What would you say the range is among these 5 or 6 different ones? Again, I wasn't trying to cherry pick.
Yeah.
Where you think they have the Broncos? 1 being the best team in the NFL, 32 being the worst team in the NFL. What would you say the range is?
I think if you really wanted to, you could make a case that the Broncos are like an average, or maybe even above average team. Like you could find the path. Where you say like
12, 13.
If you wanted to make the case, you could say like, hey, Bo Nix could work out. Like you get Greg Dulcich. Like there's a lot of things where, you find your second quarter. Like you could make the case that they could do that. But again, like when somebody from a national perspective is putting these together, they're obviously not just like saying like what is most likely for 31 of the teams and what is the best case scenario for the Broncos.
Right.
And so like when we do it, we'll probably overrate them because of that, because we have like, I don't know who the Patriots equivalent to Malcolm Roach is, but we're going to be much higher on the Broncos version of Malcolm Roach than whoever the Patriots Malcolm Roach
really
is.
Good
so,
point.
I mean, I would be surprised if anybody had him in the top 20.
Okay.
I would guess that the highest they're ranked is like 26th.
Okay. And the worst?
Oh, 32nd. I would imagine somebody has him last.
Wow. Okay, and we got people in the Toyota chat chiming in. We got guesses from Broncos Tube going 28 to 32. KW says rankings got to be 26 to 28. Broncos J says 25 to 32. You said 26 to 32, Henry.
Mm-hmm.
So Broncos J right there with you. Man, some Broncos fans even think the Nation has them ranked as the worst team in the NFL. And Henry, I gotta say, you are almost spot on. Almost spot on. And I want to tell you where you missed out after I give a shout out to our friends, of course, in the Toyota chat. Everyone who's tuning in with us, if you would hit us with a thumbs up, we would really appreciate doing 2 shows today, kind of testing this out. Sometimes Friday shows, a lot of people are checked out for the weekends. So we want to kind of see how this goes. And then we also got our celebrity golf tournament. We have one this Friday. It's really just a golf tournament, our midsummer scramble, but we're going to have celebrities like Henry Chisholm.
Todd will be there for a minute.
I believe in attendance. Todd is there as well. So some real celebrities that are going to be there. But of course, the Toyota chat.
Real celebrities.
I got to give a shout out to Toyota, the Toyota chat, Toyota, the 4Runner. The Sequoia. They're the RAV4. They even have the fully electric car. They have 17 different models with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. So many cars for the summer, winter, spring, summer, or fall.
Wow.
Who is that?
I have no idea.
I think that's James Taylor right there. And they have cars for every single season,
really
just
hope
like
it
James
isn't.
Taylor sings about every single season. You can get those at your local Front Range Toyota stores, where, of course, Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. They also trucks. Don't overlook the Toyota trucks, because they have so many different models of Toyota trucks, because they've been in the game for generations. The truck game, I should say, for generations, including the 2024 Tacoma. So if you want a truck, you want a hybrid, you want an electric, you want an all-wheel, you want a car for winter, spring, summer, or fall.
Wow.
You can get that over at Toyota by visiting one of your local range or Front Range Toyota stores that are Arapahoe Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Also, check out Bet365. We're doing a little Rockies watch along tonight, which should be a lot of fun.
We is in Celebrity Hank.
Me and Susie.
Celebrity
not
Chisholm.
Zach, yeah. No, I'm actually really excited, though, because nobody ever wants to hear me talk about the Rockies.
Yeah, we do, Henry.
No,
You just keep putting yourself down. I'm gonna bring every time you put yourself down today. I'm gonna pick you up.
They all say like, no, not the Rock. We're not talking. Rockies suck. Blah blah blah. They've got some really fun young guys. Like they've got the middle infield set for the next decade. Like all the way up the really. But
anytime you think the Rockies are set for the next decade, they trade that person away. Unless it's Charlie Black.
No, that is true. But the thing is, because you have Adael Amador at second base, Brendan Rodgers can be traded, and you could actually get a decent
just wanting
return.
to trade these guys.
No. But
even
you
are
that's because
you don't need Brendan Rodgers. You don't need him anymore.
But see, like this is the time. Like Elias Diaz is playing amazing baseball. He's batting like 300, and he's hurt right now, but it's like a short thing. Trade deadline's not till the end of July. All-Star game MVP last year. He's a 33-year-old catcher. You get to trade him. Like it really sounds like this is the year where they finally say like these 2 or 3 guys are going to be gone. So I'm hyped. Point is, tune in for the watch along because I'm also going to be making some bets. I'm not sure what they are though. You can get Shohei to strike out or to not strike out once at plus 155 is probably like the move because he's not going to strike out against the Rockies.
Yeah, I agree.
Rockies just to win at plus 155. I would recommend you wait until like the third inning when that's going to be like plus 700. Yeah, there's a bunch of fun stuff in there. So Bet365 is awesome. I'm going to be using them a lot tonight. I'm going to be making some money. I still haven't bet against the Rockies this year. But it might be about time. Tonight, I'm keeping a positive attitude. Tomorrow, we're gonna see how things change.
Good.
But Bet365, great way to make money. If you want to sign up, use the code DNVR365, and if you deposit $10, you can choose between one of 2 offers. The first is a bet and get offer. You place a bet of $5 or more, you get $150 in bonus bets. There's also a first bet safety net offer where you place a bet up to $2,000, and if that qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay, Henry, we learned a little bit about you today. In our first show today, we learned that I eat kids' burritos.
Yeah, that's right.
So now let's learn a little bit something more about me on this show.
Oh, boy.
Daniel Sapp says, over under on how many years of choir Zach took in high school, and Broncos Jay says 2 years of choir. Would you go over or under, Henry? And you hear.
I'm trying to think.
What are we thinking?
Todd's the singer of the group.
Okay.
Todd's the one who's always walking around singing.
Todd's the actor, the child
Todd
actor
is
of
the
the
actor.
group.
That's true.
Been in a couple national commercials, I believe.
Yeah. What?
Radio Shack? Oh, you're going under on one?
Oh, on you? I
Okay.
think it's under.
Under? Okay, Henry? You
I'll
taking
go
the
over.
under? Taking the over? The over smashes.
Yeah, I bet.
4
There we go.
years of high school choir.
There we go.
Plus, started singing in 3rd grade, and choir has taken me to places like Kansas, Nebraska, Arizona, California. How about France and Spain?
Okay, there we go.
And China, too.
There, that's better.
I've been
That's
to China
See,
with
I thought
it.
you were
That's
too
better.
busy playing football that you didn't have time for choir.
I was
That's what
I was the
thinking.
choir football kid in high school. So, just flex my muscles in choir class.
Choir football kid.
Choir
yeah, there
football
actually
kid.
are quite a few
Yeah,
of those.
yeah,
See,
yeah. Maybe
I
Todd
thought
was too.
I thought I was going to be able to flex on the band trips to New York and Seattle
That's pretty good.
and Butte, Montana. But then you threw in some actual real ones at the end. Yeah.
Zach was basically High School Musical, just like the football version of it.
Wow.
Never
That's
saw
it,
High School
yeah.
Musical, so can't comment if I want to be associated with that or
I
not.
came home a few weeks ago and Lexi had it on the TV. I was like, this isn't. I'll be in the other room. I've got work to do.
Wow. Okay, speaking of work to do, the Broncos have some work to do. So, Henry, your guess was 26 to
That's
32.
the highest. Yep.
Okay, so now we have to. I'm going to throw these outlets your way and say
Okay.
if you want to count them or not. ESPN,
Yeah.
NFL.com,
Yeah.
PFF, which is their
Yeah.
roster rankings.
I mean,
So it's not
they're gonna be
truly.
There's gonna be some stuff in there that's super weird, but why not go with
Okay,
it?
SI.com,
Yeah.
Fox Sports.
Who even writes that? Yeah, Fox Sports, sure.
And then here's the one that I really want to get your input on. NFLTradeRumors.com.
I mean, they're probably not great, but sure, why not?
Okay,
Like
okay.
power rankings,
Then
you don't
if-
need to be a genius to write them.
If we're including all of these, the Broncos,
That's true.
the best that they rank is from NFLTradeRumors.com. They come in at 25th. So you're one
Damn.
spot
I was
off.
torn between 25 and 26.
But Henry, you were right. PFF has the Broncos in terms of roster rankings, which is a little different than power rankings, at 32. Maybe it's actually the same. 32, so the worst. So you were very damn close. I commend you, Henry. ESPN has the Broncos ranked at 31, so the second worst team in the NFL.
Okay.
NFL.com has the Broncos ranked at 28, so the fifth worst team in the NFL. PFF has the Broncos ranked at 32, which is the worst team in the NFL. SI.com has the Broncos ranked at 28, the fifth worst team in the NFL. And Fox Sports has the Broncos ranked at 31, which is the second worst team in the NFL. Does any of that surprise you, averaging out to about 30th, which is the third worst team in the NFL?
No. I mean, again, we've seen the betting line, so it's about exactly what you'd expect.
You're right.
Yeah, I can't really...
Point.
I can't be upset with any of that.
But there's one thing. There's actually kind of a lot of things that don't really add up, Henry. One, the Broncos were 8-9 last year. They had
Yep.
the 12th pick in the draft. So they were like, the 12th worst team in the NFL, which would be like the 20th best team in the NFL, which would put them right around 20 of this year. They did move on from some notable names. Russell Wilson. Sean Payton thinks that Russell Wilson's 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions were a complete product of him because of what rested the year before when he was just really, truly one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. So from Sean Payton and the Broncos' perspective, they don't think they got worse at quarterback. In fact, Sean probably thinks they're about the same, if not better, with a rookie this year. They did get rid of Justin Simmons. We have talked about the safety position, though. The safety position is not a very valuable position. You can have a great player there, and it doesn't do much for your defense. We've seen that with the Broncos with Justin Simmons. He's one of the best safeties in the NFL. He might be the best safety in the NFL, yet when you have him, you can still give up 70 points. And I guess Justin
He didn't play that one.
Didn't play that one.
Otherwise, yeah. What makes you think? Also, you had Kareem for half the season, too.
Yeah, Kareem for half the season.
Yeah.
But did PJ Locke play better than Kareem Jackson last year?
Probably.
So I
But,
think
close.
my guess is these national places, and I totally get it, there's 32 teams. It's a sicko stuff to dive into all 32 teams and rank them. Again, sicko, I mean in a good way.
Yes.
You see the names that the Broncos moved on from. They moved on from Russell Wilson. They moved on from Jerry Jeudy. Oh my gosh, a first-round pick. They moved on from Justin Simmons, one of two Pro Bowlers, all pros on their team. And then they brought in guys like Malcolm Roach, who played, half the snaps with the New Orleans Saints last year. Their biggest free agent signing was Brandon Jones, a guy that played less than 50% of the snaps with the Dolphins. So on the surface, I totally see why the national rankings think that the Broncos went from 20th best team in the NFL last year to one of the worst. But again, I think we can break these moves down kind of just like I did and be like, yeah, they lost big names nationally. I don't know how much worse their team truly got.
Yeah, I go the other way because I look at all of them. Like, I think you go from Justin Simmons to Brandon Jones. That's a big drop off. Even when you look at Fabian Moreau and what he did last year, he played really well when you had him on the field. He kind of faltered the last couple weeks, but for the most part, realistically, you probably get more out of him than you do out of your second corner. And hopefully that's wrong. And I think that's kind of what you look at with most of the Broncos rosters. Like, hey, hopefully these guys overperform a little bit. But you're neutral at best, I think, at that second cornerback spot. You lose Josie Jewell, replace him with Cody Barton or Jonas Griffith. That's a big drop-off. Again, there's a positional value thing there, so how much do you really care? But it is, in terms of an inside linebacker, that's a big drop-off. That's like the guy who's been calling your defense. Defensive line, you got better. John Franklin Myers is...
Well, wait, really quick. I heard Alex Singleton called 90% of the defense last year.
Didn't have the green dot. Again, it's... So, it was... So, Josie gets the call in. Josie tells Alex what the call is. And I can't remember if Alex went to the... I think Alex went to the defensive line. No. It was Josie talked to the defensive line. Alex spread it around the secondary. So it is kind of like a working together type deal. But that was, at least when I talked to him pretty early in the season, that's how it was going. I think...
Really quick, a text that I got last week said that Singleton had it 99% of the time last year.
The green dot?
Yeah.
literally a dot on the helmet.
Outside of the first game. Maybe this person was wrong, but this is what I heard.
Can you, can you look at like the
Pictures?
Yeah, the pictures, see if you can find it. Yeah. Yeah. Because I guess I did talk to him early on, but I'm pretty sure it was after that. I think beyond there, like offensively, you move on from Jerry Jeudy, you downgraded. Like you're hoping you get more out of Marvin Mims, but you look at like Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds has never had the season that Jerry Jeudy had last year, and he's 29. And
That's
so
true.
You get Tim Patrick back, like your depth probably improved.
I would agree.
But you still have that issue. Tight end, no real difference. And then the big thing is, I mean, I look at all that and say you got worse across the board. How much worse you can debate. How impactful are the losses you can debate. But you did get worse across the board. The big thing that's going to swing everything is quarterback, though.
Yeah.
And it's just a really hard discussion. Like I don't know what side I fall on. I think that Russell Wilson certainly tied their hands a little bit. At the same time, though, you're talking about a guy who, and the stats are the stats, and the stats would say top 10 quarterback last year statistically, top 12 quarterback. So I will say I don't think you're getting the numbers out of Bo Nix. I'd be very surprised. I mean, we've done the show. We went through all the betting lines. We've gone through. I guess we haven't done the quarterback projections for Mike Clay, but outsiders definitely don't think Bo Nix is coming close to those numbers wise. And on top of that,
You are right.
while Russell does kind of tie your hands a bit, he was first in the NFL in game-winning drives and second in fourth quarter comebacks. So he was in crunch time, like we were talking about 8 wins. If he doesn't have those, I think there were 4 and 3. So call it three of those. Then all of a sudden you're a 5-win team. And how much of that, like, first of all, how much of that do you even give Russ credit for? Like, you can make the case that there's some luck involved, there's some fluke. Like Courtland Sutton made some great catches, but
maybe Russ put him in those positions where they had to have the game-winning drives. In terms of Russ was bad.
Also true, and there's just so much way. And how much of that's just unlucky? Like, should the Broncos have just been a 5-win team last year, not an 8-win team? You know, because I think when I go back and look and say, did they get lucky or did they get unlucky? Were they deep down closer to an 11-win team or 5-win team? I'd say a 5-win team. Like, I would say, if anything, they probably overperformed last year, not underperformed. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I would say, I think you took a step down at quarterback this year. I'm just not sure how much of a step down it is. And I think that within a couple years, you're happy with it. And you got to remember, I mean, first-round quarterbacks, half the time they bust. Yes.
So after going through all the pictures,
yes,
he did have the green dot.
He did.
All except for one game.
Wait, Alex or Josie?
Alex.
Really?
My sources, man. Can't believe you're doubting my
I went through all of them. Like, I made double sure. Only this year.
On this one, my source
I guess,
is very, very good. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
Because I guess maybe it was when Josie got hurt, they flipped it and just never changed it back.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah. But then, so basically,
I was told he had it 60% the year before, too.
Huh. Interesting. It's kind of strange. How did we not know that? We never even talked about it.
But to your point, Henry, about it being, I totally see where you're coming from and why people would view it that way. But what irks me when I look at power rankings is when they bump the Broncos down from about the 20th best team in the NFL, and this is ESPN, down to 31. They went from the 20th best team in the NFL to the second worst team in the NFL.
They were hot late, yeah.
And here's their description. The Broncos trading for Jonathan Franklin Myers during draft weekend was one of the best under-the-radar moves of the 3-day affair. Denver acquired a player who will play and have an impact across its entire defensive front for a swap of 6th and 7th round draft picks. Franklin Myers is a highly productive player who consistently pressures opposing passers. Couple that with the addition of Malcolm Roach, a powerful interior player who should help with what was a wobbly defense at times last year, and the Broncos have improved. What? But they've gotten better or they've gotten worse?
First of all,
maybe that was just about the defensive line, but this was about the Broncos.
First of all, John Franklin Myers, outside of Bo Nix, that's your biggest addition of the offseason, and it isn't close. like by a pretty wide margin. I mean, even if you just look at financially, the financial commitment is the biggest. That's their biggest move, which does maybe change things a little bit in how you look at the defense. But I would say just about every team thinks they get better every offseason. I think that you kind of see that because how does a football team in 1970 compare to a football team today? Like teams just get better and better and better, but it's how you get better compared to the rest of the league. I think that when you look at the Patriots probably got better. Panthers probably got better. The Titans probably got better. Commanders probably got better. And maybe there's some like debate, but for the most part, even though it doesn't seem like it's possible for every team to get better, I think that most teams do. Occasionally you have some weird situation where you, like the Vikings lose Kirk Cousins, they probably got worse. But for the most part, you're adding young guys who you think could pop and getting rid of the older guys who just don't really work for you. Yeah, it's a big drop off, but I also think like there's a real case to be made that they're behind just about everybody.
So let's dive into these and see who they're behind, who they should be ahead of, who they should be behind, and see where we think if this is a right kind of 25 to 32 ranking for the Broncos and what that means for this upcoming season. And then also kind of change the conversation, then look at the ceiling for the Broncos. But first, let's just see where we think they should be right now. But I got to give a shout out to our friends over at Vestibule First, where if you want to get in on Baron Browning's future earnings, you can do that over at Vestibule. It's a really cool idea where not only can you be a fan of the Broncos, not only can you be a fan of Baron Browning, but you can actually invest and have a financial stake in Baron Browning's future, where he has essentially put 1% of his future earnings up for sale. You can buy that percentage, and then you get that percent back of what he makes in the future. Really cool idea where they're all about redefining fandom to get even closer to players. And when Baron talked to the media a couple of weeks ago, and then I believe he said it to us last week as well, when you asked him, Henry, about this, he said, yeah, it's a really cool way to get closer to fans. And so if you want to get in on Baron Browning's IPO, you can do that. It's live right now, but you have to have the Vestibule app. So you can scan the QR code on our screen, or you can go to the App Store and download the Vestibule app, VESTIBLE. Download that, and you can get in on Baron Browning. He's their first athlete right now, but they're looking to add more, not just in pros, but also in college as well. So be on the lookout for more athletes coming around. But for this show, it's perfect because Baron Browning, obviously a Bronco. So his IPO is available right now, and shares are available for purchase, but they are limited. So go download the Vestibule app now and invest in Baron Browning.
Yep. And also go check out Coors Light. Coors is just the best. I also love that it's just a Colorado company. I've mentioned this a couple times now, but I was at Coors Field 3 of the last 4 nights. Just the best place to be. Like you go, just sit there and you just watch baseball. Like because it seems like usually like when Lexi's out of town and I'm just like at home, I kind of like be like, oh, turn on a movie, and it's like, well, I turned on the movie, but now I'm just scrolling on Twitter or like looking at something. But when you go and you're just like watching the baseball game, it's just such a nice, pleasant type of place, and that wouldn't have been possible without Coors because they've been the naming rights people for so long. I can't remember. I'm not going to give the details of the deal.
Unless they want to cut it off. It's up to them.
It's like a permanent naming rights deal, and it has been for forever.
What a terrible business decision.
Potentially. Great for Coors. They're a bunch of geniuses. And you can tell they're geniuses by their beer because it really is good. I've always been a Coors Light drinker. From like even like college, that's all we drank was just Coors Light. From Perth. Yeah. But yeah, so to have Coors Light as a partner is awesome. Really love them. Appreciate all the things they do for us. And hopefully you guys go drink some Coors Lights because it is, at least in my opinion, the very best light beer. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Okay, let's be responsible. Speaking of celebrating responsibly, let's be responsible with these power rankings here, Henry. Mm-hmm. Broncos, according to ESPN, 31 in power rankings. Who's behind them?
Probably the Panthers.
Probably the Panthers, or for sure the Panthers. Like how confident are you that the Panthers are worse than the Broncos in terms of ESPN's view of this?
50-50 with the Patriots, and I'm going Panthers.
Ding, 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 ding.
There we go.
Ding.
Yep.
You are correct about that. And is that that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. I do believe the Panthers, like you said, every team feels like they got better in the offseason. I do believe the Panthers did get better. They really upgraded their offensive line, which is just such a key thing when you have a young quarterback, especially when you have such a bad offensive line like they had. But you still have just an awful defense. You traded away your best defensive player to the Giants. And I believe in Bryce Young, but I understand if people are out on Bryce Young right now. So new coach who has never been a head coach before. So I get it. And I do think the Broncos should be ahead of the Panthers right now.
They probably should be. But I mean, just to play devil's advocate, if you're making the case for the Panthers, Bryce Young or Bo Nix, if you call that a toss-up, it's a good starting point to make a case for the Panthers.
Oh, man. I mean, you're talking about the sixth quarterback taken this year versus the number 1 overall quarterback last year, who obviously had a down year.
Yep.
Yeah, I would.
Do you think they would trade Bryce Young for Bo Nix?
No, I don't think so.
There you go. Then you get into it.
You think the Broncos would?
No.
Bryce Young can play as Sean Payton.
I think it's more tempting that way than from the Panthers' perspective.
I agree with you there.
I think you could make a pretty strong case, actually, that if you were to take all the receivers from the Panthers, all the receivers from the Broncos, the Panthers have the top 2.
It's Thielen and
Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. And
Broncos probably, I don't know the Panthers' depth, but I do really like the Broncos'
Me too.
depth.
Me too. And by the end of the year, we could be saying something different. Their third receiver, Xavier Legette, who, again, like when you're saying Legette or Marvin Mims, like that's a real conversation right there.
I'll take Legette for every press conference, that's for sure.
Also true. Marvin's a very nice man also.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Marvin.
Marvin is, I think, intentionally boring, though. Legette is about the opposite of boring. He's like the coolest character around.
So if you're making the case for the Panthers, though, it's that, hey, Bryce Young backed up by Andy Dalton or Bo Nix backed up by Jarrett Stidham. Call that a toss-up.
I'll give coaching to the Broncos by a landslide.
Definitely. You say, like, as you said, they invested a lot in the offensive line, specifically those guards.
Yep.
You say, hey, this group could be pretty close to as good as the Broncos offensive line.
Yeah, I'd take Broncos.
Me too. But they would say, like, our big win, the thing that flips things in our direction is that we just have better weapons. And I think that while the Broncos have depth, you only get to put 11 guys on the field at a time, you know? So I think that there's kind of the argument. And at the same time, you know, they add Jadeveon Clowney. That's like a nice fiscal piece.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you know, it's a solid. They obviously had Josie Jewell. Secondary, a little bit light. You know, J.C. Horn came along a little bit. So I go Broncos, but if you were a Panthers fan and you wanted to make the case, I mean,
I see the argument.
There's a solid argument to be made.
Yeah. So now, who's right above the Broncos, Henry? You should get this one.
The Patriots.
The Patriots.
Yeah.
One spot above the Broncos. So make the case that the Broncos are better, or would you make the case that the Broncos should be above the Patriots?
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'm a well-known Drake May hater, so there's a starting point.
Drinking the haterade.
Absolutely. Sign me up.
What flavor?
Didn't
you go like red because it's the Patriots?
I think it was the Cool Blue was typically my favorite.
Cool Blue.
I haven't had one forever.
Yeah.
Coors Blue, yes.
Coors Blue.
Yeah, so with them, I think Jacoby Brissett's probably a starter. I think when you look at their weapons, the Broncos have the better weapons. I think the Broncos pretty clearly have the better offensive line. They have Hunter Henry. They have Austin Hooper. They also drafted Jaheim Bell, who's one of my favorites. Maybe they can get something out of that. To me, though, I think it's tough to make the case that the Patriots offense is better than the Broncos offense. The real case for them is just the defense, where it starts from the secondary. Christian Gonzalez, who looked good last year, with Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar and Jonathan Jones. Like, they've got a bunch of guys who can do a bunch of different things. And you can play some man, you can play some zone. And they've got, like, Matthew Judon put up pretty crazy numbers last year. So they've got some pieces on defense. I think defensively, the Patriots are probably better. Just based on paper. If it turns out Riley Moss is awesome and this defensive line is what we hoped, or one of these outside linebackers gets 10 sacks for the Broncos, the conversation changes. As it stands right now, I'd probably go with the Patriots. But then you say that and you're like, well, what happens without Bill Belichick?
100%.
Like, how much of that was these guys actually being good? Because, like, I think of, like, I remember Juwan Bentley making some plays. And you're like, well,
right.
What if he's actually just an older 5th round pick who Bill Belichick. So maybe it is pretty close there. I still go Broncos just because the gap on offense is bigger.
I totally agree with you. But as Daniel Zapp says, if we can't beat New England at home, ...
Also true.
That would be New England's point is they just got the third best quarterback in the draft, according to where he was drafted. They think he's the third best quarterback in the draft. And they went on the road last year in a game that the Broncos had to win to stay in the playoff mix and control their own destiny. And they were able to beat the Broncos. So, from an ESPN standpoint, I get why they would say New England. However, from my standpoint, I would rather have Bo Nix than Drake May. And that is probably an unpopular opinion outside of Denver. But I'm not just saying that because I cover the Broncos. But I'm just, along with you, I mean, can you pass that cool blue haterade? Because I don't believe in Drake May right now.
Yeah, I can't remember where I officially fell before the draft. I was torn between, it was Drake May and Bo Nix for the last two spots, unfortunately. But it was those two who I was kind of deciding between at the end. So I agree. I also think that Jacoby Brissett, obviously not going to be like a world beater, but is there a world in which he's better than Bo Nix in Bo's rookie season? I think the better case is that he's better in the first half of the season.
Sure.
I think that's an easier case to make. I'd still take Bo.
And I have to imagine these power rankings are looking at where the team is right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they typically update after every week. So, sure, I see that, but I would have gone Broncos ahead of the Patriots there.
Me too.
The next team on the list, at least according to ESPN, we'll just focus on ESPN's list right now. The next team they have, I can't find it.
Oh, no.
Who do you think it would be?
The Commanders? The Titans?
You hear? What are you saying? Yeah, here's going with the Seahawks. I totally lost the article.
Well, this is a shame.
Yeah, this is a shame. Don't worry, I can pull it up. Here we go. Okay, it's loading right here. We've got, do you have it up?
I have the NFL.com rankings.
Okay, good. So don't cheat. Don't pull out the ESPN
I would never.
We've got at 28 29.
I'm getting real excited for this.
I've got it now. Who are you going with?
Titans.
Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, okay.
Arizona Cardinals are, I don't want to look at every team right now, but they might have like the biggest swing of what they could be this year.
Definitely.
I don't believe in Kyler Murray. I don't believe, sorry to our friends over at PHNX, I don't believe that he's this franchise quarterback that deserved the massive contract he got like a couple of weeks before Russell Wilson got his deal. I think his deal is closer to Russell Wilson than it is what they actually paid him for. But if he ends up being this, like the fifth highest paid quarterback in the NFL, if he plays up to that, they would absolutely be a top half of the league team. But they've got him just ahead of the Broncos here. But for right now, do I understand why they would have Kyler Murray above Bo Nix? Yeah, I do.
Yep. I mean, you know what you're going to get. Like, so last year, 8 games because of the injury. 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Year before, 14-7. Year before, 24-10. Year before, 26-12. 89, 87, 100, 94 passer. So, like, you're getting pretty average, above average. You're getting above average quarterback play, at least statistically. And then, obviously, he adds things with his legs. This year, he's probably a better quarterback than Bo Nix. Like, he just probably is.
Rest of the team, do you agree that the Cardinals should be above the Broncos?
That's the tougher part because I think the Broncos have the better weapons. The only thing that makes it tough is Trey McBride, who will be more of a celebrity than me this weekend. He's kind of the X factor.
Wow,
there
the
we
crowd
go.
chiming in
Crowd,
there.
thanks to the crowd.
But they thought it was a joke, so they disagree with what you said.
It was a joke. It was just a true joke, you know.
True jokes hurt the most.
But like running backs, James Conner, Trey Benson, DJ Dallas. You want the Broncos. Receivers, maybe it's a little bit tough because they got Marvin Harrison Jr., but Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Chris Moore, Zay Jones, Zach Pascal.
Yeah, you say Michael or Marvin Harrison, like go that way.
Probably. But defensively, they've got some guys like Buda Baker's good. Just not a whole lot of depth. Like Zaven Collins is solid. Sean Murphy Bunting's been good, but I guess only the one kind of crazy game changer.
Give me coaching, though, for the Broncos by far.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely go coaching for the Broncos. So
this is one, though, I give the Broncos the edge over the Patriots. This is one where I think it's really close, though.
Definitely. It's you're really getting in the weeds when you're talking about which of these defenses you want. I think that I really like what the Broncos have done on defense. I think that where they don't have a solid player who's ready to play a bunch of snaps, they have like a few guys who one of them may be. But I still can't put their defense in front of the Cardinals' defense at this point.
So you're going with Cardinals?
I'd probably go Cardinals. I think I just bet on Kyler.
Next on the list is the New York Giants.
Yeah.
This one, I'm going Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Above the New York Giants here.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that this is actually one of the. I'm surprised that they were up in front of the Cardinals, actually.
Well, what they give big credit to is getting Brian Burns.
Yeah.
We talked about how that was a big loss for the Panthers, so it's a big addition for the Giants.
And you pair them with Kayvon Thibodeau, but there's really nothing else that stands out about that defense. Then offensively, again, I love running backs. You lose Saquon, that's a. He was the guy with the ball in his hands most of the time.
Yeah.
And he was the guy making all the plays. So now you've got Devin Singletary, who I like, but he's just not on that level. And then you get Daniel Jones, probably, maybe Drew Lock. The receivers, like, if you really like Neighbors, you could put the receivers in front of the Broncos. I still probably wouldn't. Darius Slayton, though, and you're like, is Darius Slayton what you're kind of hoping that Marvin Mims is? You probably hope for better, I guess, but that's probably a pretty good outcome. The offensive line.
No,
yeah,
they better hope that
you hope better.
Neighbors is way better. What was he, the sixth
Oh,
pick?
no, Darius Slayton.
Oh, Darius Slayton is better than Marvin Mims?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Slayton, just pull up quickly,
No, that's
770
fair.
yards,
I
724
misunderstood.
yards.
Sure.
Like he's a Josh Reynolds, different play style, more speed, but similar in that way. So I go Broncos, though, just because I don't think there are many spots
I would too.
where the Giants beat them.
Next one, another team with a rookie quarterback. The Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
This is a tough one because they do have pieces, but
Yep.
they have brand new coaching staff, a rookie quarter. They have so much new
Yep.
on their team, including new ownership, new general man. I mean, so much new here. This is also a team that has a very wide margin of where they could end up here from the
Yep.
start of the season to the end of the season. Dan Quinn is a good coach. I don't think he's like this world beat. Whoa, you don't
He's
like
not
that?
a good coach.
You're a big fan of Dan Quinn?
Oh.
Oh, I was being generous
Now we
by
know.
saying
Now we
he's
know.
a good coach. That's like as far as I'm willing to go. So I take Broncos coaching, but I really like Jaden Daniels. They have weapons on offense. They have players on defense. This one's also super close to me. I think the Broncos and Commanders are in a very similar position.
Yeah, I think the Commanders' defense is better, especially when you look at, adding Jeremy Chin. Like, it just gives you a little more upside. Adding Bobby Wagner,
Shout out
adding
Steve Atwater.
Frankie Louvu, true. Like, and that defensive line is still really good.
Yeah.
So defensively, I think that they're just so much, at the very least, more trustworthy than the Broncos are at this point.
Forgot they got Wagner.
Yeah.
Obviously over the hump, but still
Yeah.
a good player.
And then going back, because the Broncos play Seahawks week 1, and going back and watching some Seahawks games from last year, he's the only guy on that defense who can make a tackle. Like, he may not be like the 3 down, like,
On the
do
Seahawks.
everything. Yeah. He might not be like who he used to be, but he's still a good at what he does. And then even offensively, again, Terry McLaurin, best skill position player that either team has.
Yeah.
Between Broncos.
Agreed.
And that's like by such a wide margin that maybe you throw out that the Broncos probably have the better offensive line. I think last year the Commanders were bottom 3 in the NFL in terms of tight end receiving yards. So maybe there's a case that Greg Dulcich is healthy. Maybe you do like him better. They brought in Zach Ertz, who at like 37 or whatever, do you really care? I think that this is a close one. I probably go to the Commanders just because they have the top end talent, and like Austin Eckler too.
Yeah. And you convinced me. I
Yeah.
would lean that way, but I think it's very, very
It
close.
is.
So we're seeing the Broncos move up a little bit, not completely skyrocket. We're
Uh-huh.
seeing a move up. We're going to continue to go through the list. But before we go any further, there's a lot of people watching right now, and we need to know if you guys like this, especially in the off season.
Yes.
Do you want kind of a double show maybe at some point throughout the week, double show day? So far, the likes don't indicate that you do. So if you do, hit us with the like. It shows us that you like it, shows us the support. Also helps us out, but it also is a good indicator of like, do you like the topic? Do you like the time? Do you like what we're doing? Do you like that we're in Studio B here? Too bad you can't see the John Elway poster right behind Henry's right shoulder. We'd probably have like quadruple the likes if that was on screen right now.
Oh, wow.
Good old young John wearing number 7 in a throwback Broncos uniform there. Young John, that's what he is. How old do we think he is there, Henry? 27?
I'd go even younger.
Oh, even younger.
Yeah. Because I guess he would have played 4 years. So what? He would have been 22, 23 as a rookie.
Yeah.
This is young. I'll say 25, 26.
Okay, so
25.
Probably have more likes there, but hit us with a thumbs up if you like this. And of course, if you're not able to listen live, you can listen back on Spotify or podcast.
1987.
1987.
So fourth year in the league. So we've been 26, 27.
Yeah, spot on.
Yep.
Good call, guys. Hit us with a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Thank you, guys, especially KW, who says, yes, double show is great. I like that. Broncos Jay, thank you for the support. Daniel, of course, thank you for the support. JB Wright, Lance, Jose, of course, everyone that's tuning in with us on the Twitter chat. We appreciate you. Okay, Henry, let's continue through this list. We go a little faster here to see just how far up the Broncos can get. The Tennessee Titans are next.
What are they with Tony Pollard instead of Derrick Henry?
Worse.
Definitely worse. How much worse?
Significantly.
But Will Levis, who looked pretty good at the end of the year, do you like that better than Bo Nix?
Give me Bo Nix.
Okay.
Even though he has played in the NFL, I'd still prefer Bo Nix.
And then another piece on offense. How much do you care that the receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, way better.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that probably counteracts the other questions, at least in my mind. Defensively, obviously go get L'Jarius Sneed. Kenneth Murray sucks. They still got Jeffrey Simmons. They add Tavondre Sweat. Like you
lose a great coach though.
True.
And they chose that.
True. So I think I take their secondary, I take their defensive line, I take the Broncos linebackers though, and that's where 2 out of 3 goes to the Titans. Offensively, I think I take the Titans as well. Again, it's really close, and if Will Levis sucks, then things change.
Yeah.
But
So
again, like then it goes
lean
to like
towards the Titans.
if their backup is Mason Rudolph or Jarrett Stidham.
Push.
There you
Yeah.
go, push. And if Jarrett Stidham looks slightly better than Bo Nix as of now, then you got to project some growth for Bo Nix. So
Yeah.
you probably should go Titans. As a homer, I could make a strong case for the Broncos, but you objectively probably Titans.
And now we get the first AFC West team
Oh,
that the
boy.
Broncos compete with. It is
The Oakland Raiders.
the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh,
Not
that's
the
right.
Oakland
That's right.
Raiders. The
I
Las
forget
Vegas
their name.
Raiders.
That's not who they are.
They are 25th here, Henry. Are the Broncos worse than the Raiders?
How many times before the draft did I compare Bo Nix to Gardner Minshew?
A lot.
A lot of times. And the thing is, like, that's what I think Bo Nix is kind of that right out of the gate. I'm going to call quarterback a push. Running backs, Broncos are better. Offensive line, Broncos are better. I really like what the Raiders are doing with their offensive line, but Broncos is better. Tight ends, though, and you get Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer.
It's not
you get to
close.
receiver with Devontae Adams.
That's not close.
And so then all of a sudden you have the 2 really great skill position talents are on the Raiders side. I think it's a push offensively, and maybe even that's a little generous for the Broncos.
Okay.
Again, defensively, top to bottom, I think the Broncos are much better. I think the secondary is better. I think the linebackers are better. You throw in Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby on the defensive line, though, and is that enough to balance it out? And I'd say I still take the Broncos just because Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, Jack Jones, Trayvon Moore, Marcus Epps, Ja'Cory Bennett, Nate Hott, like it's just not enough. Like I think Pat Surtain cancels out Max Crosby.
Okay.
I think the rest of everything else cancels out. I'll say the Broncos are better than the Raiders, but it's I wouldn't say you're wrong if you go the other way.
What did Tony Scheffler say?
God bless Bo Nix.
God bless Bo Nix.
Okay.
You know what I want to say?
Probably that.
God bless
There.
Josh Jacobs.
Oh, that's true.
Thank goodness,
That's
Josh
true.
Jacobs. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank goodness Josh Jacobs left, because if Josh Jacobs was here, you have to go Raiders because he was a Broncos killer. Just looking at it on paper, especially when you add coaching in, I give Sean Payton a massive win here, and I agree with everything you said about the offense, defense kind of cancel each other out. I would give the Broncos the edge on coaching. But Henry, as JB Wright said in the comments, until the Broncos can beat the Raiders, the Broncos are worse than the Raiders. And like 8 straight losses. I know things have changed this offseason, but it's really hard to argue that. I would, again, on paper, where things stand right now, I think the Broncos will beat the Raiders in the first game they play them, but I totally understand if people want to say, like, they got to beat them before I'm going to say they're better. So I'd see if you went that way, but I would give the nod to the Broncos right now. Next, okay, let's do a little speed round. Only have a couple more minutes before we got to get to our training camp meeting and set up what's going on for training camp. Next, they have... above the Raiders, they have the New Orleans Saints, Sean's old team.
Wow, that's a really tough one.
So so it's still tough. So that's good. That means the Broncos could keep jumping here.
Yeah. I've never been the biggest Derek Carr fan. I know other people have different opinions, but he's to me a lot closer to Gardner Minshew than I think people believe.
I think that take has become much better over the past year.
Yeah,
when he's been with the Saints,
that is true, and that's the fits is what matters. They have like fun weapons on offense, but they aren't great. Like Chris Olave is good. The rest of them, though, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson, A.T. Perry, like they just don't have a lot of juice. You're starting Talise Fuaga at left tackle. Where does that leave you? Like I think Broncos offensive line is better. Broncos receivers are better. Derek Carr is still probably, he's definitely week 1 who you'd rather have over Bo Nix at this point by the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if that changes. And then you get into how Alvin Kamara can kind of be an X factor and Jamal. I think you probably have to take the Saints offense. I might even just call offense a push.
It's fair. I might just give the slight nod to Derek Carr just because he is so experienced and he's like good. Maybe not, he's not great, but he's good.
Yeah.
And where you just have such an unknown. But I agree. I'd probably go slight edge to the Saints, but Broncos are in the conversation.
Yep.
The next team, the Vikings, are the Broncos in the conversation with the Vikings? Or is there separation now?
I think they're in the conversation just because of the quarterback situation. I think the Broncos might have a much better quarterback this year.
So in the conversation with the Vikings, who are 23?
Yeah. But I think like right now you still probably have to go Vikings just because they have the better talent across the board. Defensively, what is Harrison Smith is like a 38-year-old or whatever he is now. He's not that old, but he's getting up there.
So what about the Chargers at 22?
You got to go Chargers.
So is there kind of a split now? Is that where you're seeing the split?
Yeah, it's probably over.
Okay, so kind of right here is maybe not the Broncos' ceiling, but just where their ceiling is right now. What about the Seahawks at 21?
You have to probably go the Seahawks. Again, like the weapons, the running backs, the quarterback.
I'm going to throw out 2 more and just see if there really is the split is at kind of 22. Atlanta Falcons, they have a 20.
You just have to. I think there's
agreed.
a real chance at the end of the year it changes because Kirk Cousins' Achilles doesn't.
Right now, entering.
But right now, you just have to say them.
And the Tampa Bay Bucks, they have a 19.
You probably just have to.
Okay, so then that's kind of where we see this. Yes, you could. Yep. We can see people making the case for the Broncos being 32. We don't think they're there. But you could also make the case that they should be 9 spots above where they are and be right around 23, which if they're 23, they're competitive at the end of the season. And that's without assuming massive growth from Bo Nix. I really like doing this, Henry. Maybe we'll do it again like after preseason, once we see Bo Nix, see what other things are saying. But before we get out of here, got to give a shout out to Joshua McCool, who's also been joining us. He dropped a super chat in our previous show earlier today, and I just personally did not see that, so I apologize, Joshua, for not getting to it earlier. But want to give you a shout out for the super chat and read the super chat. And he says, Hank, I grew up in Southern California, lived in Texas. There's no way Montana is even close to that in terms of Mexican food.
Which I get, like if you're going for authentic, then of course. But if you're just going,
well, Mexican food is. It's authentic.
But like, would you rather?
What are you talking about?
But like,
he's losing it. He's losing it.
If you want a pizza, do you want like whatever the Italians make, or do you want like a pizza?
What the Italians make.
I want an Italian
You don't
pizza.
want what the Italians make. You don't want that. don't.
People are now coming over to the studio to see what's going on. Before anything gets crazier, we better wrap up right now. Shout out to everyone who turned in to not just the first show, but the second show as well. We appreciate you. Hit us with the thumbs up on the way out. Thank you all so much for rolling with us. We're back tomorrow at 11 a.m. talking Alvin Kamara.
Oh, boy.
You ready, Henry?
Yeah.
Let's go. Alvin and the Chisholms. You know, Alvin and the Chipmunks? Alvin and the Chisholms tomorrow. We'll talk about it. Thanks for tuning in.
We all silly like the mayor.